If you've been struggling to learn how to improvise, or if you're a beginner just learning your first scale pattern, stay tuned. I'm going to be talking today about how to break out of the rut and continuously make progress as an improviser. Now, in the course of learning the pentatonic scales on the guitar, or even the major scale and its modes, a lot of people start to get stuck running up and down scalar patterns, and a complaint that I hear from a lot of my students is that they don't feel like they're playing very musically. A lot of this comes from simply a lack of experience improvising. Today, I'll be showing you how to start improvising with just one pentatonic position and how much music you can actually make with just that one tool. Today, I want to work with just the first position of the major pentatonic scale. If you learn the cage system, it's also the E shape. We're going to start with just a G major bar chord. My root's here at the 3rd fret of the low E string. I'm going to put my second finger there, and our scale is just obviously you need to do some repetitions to get this under your fingers, right? It's not as though you could just look at it one time or play it up and down one time and suddenly have it mastered. But the important concept here is that you are always ready to try to start improvising with it. The important skill that we're going to develop as we try to go to improvise is that we're forcing our brain to learn this as a pool of notes to make music with. Our goal is to avoid running up and down the scale. So often when we first learn these, we end up sounding a little bit like this. Context of this exercise, that would technically be within the bounds of our goal, which is staying within this position. But what I want you to do is try to play more musically. Try to play phrases that you could sing, you could hum, that sound like language. And hopefully it'll sound something like this. You heard there that the second example is more musical, more creative, more compelling to the listener. And again, the goal here is, even though we're limiting ourselves to using the notes in one scale pattern, we're trying to make short, singable phrases, space in between them, that aren't just comprised of running the notes of the scale up and down. One thing that's really important to do when you're practicing this way and practicing improvising is to record yourself. So every iPhone, every Android has a voice memos app and a camera on it. So you can record yourself audibly and visually. That's so important for making sure that you don't drift out of the key, that you don't drift out of the fingering, and that we're generally achieving the exercise. Once you've gotten pretty comfortable improvising in each position, it's important to try to now start connecting them. An important concept in connecting scale patterns is to always know where your root notes are. So for example, if we even just work with our first two positions here, we have a root note here in our key of G here on the 3rd fret of the low E string. We also have one here at the 5th fret of the D string. We also have one here at the 8th fret of the B string. That's going to really help me anchor my positions because I know that, for example, this position comes from this root note, includes that root note, and my second position, just up, has the root note there that anchors it, and then my 8th fret on the B string that also anchors it. But what about connecting them now? A really easy way to start trying to do that is to recognize notes that are shared between scale patterns. So in the case of the pentatonic scales, each note that is the highest note, those each comprise and make up the lower, or the first note, on each string of my second position that we're going to here. Recognizing those pivot points allows you to then use them as transitions between the two. And an easy way to do that is to simply play up the first pattern, land on one of these pivot or transition notes, and then slide up to the second note in the second position. And you can do the same thing going down, right? This is the lower note on the B string, slide it down, it's now the lower note on my first position. Obviously the next design of this exercise is to then improvise trying to connect these two patterns together using some of that. So remember, it's never too early to start your journey growing as an improviser. Pick one position, put on a backing track, and try to make it sing. Alright guys, I hope this video was informative. Stick around because in the next video we're going to build on this, talking about how to use chord tones and targeting chord tones in our improvising. See you next time.